Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Bob here. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most asked questions I get when I tell people I'm going on this long thru hike. What gear are you bringing? So I wanted to show you all the gear that I'm bringing, how I pack it, and talk to you a little bit about why I chose some of the gear that I chose. So first, a little bit about weight when you're backpacking. The thing that most backpackers care about is your base weight, which is the weight of all of your gear, but does not count the weight of the water or the food or other consumables like medicine that you're bringing. So all the gear I have around me is the gear that will constitute my base weight. If your base weight is above 20 pounds, you're considered traditional. Between 10 and 20, you're lightweight, and below 10, you are ultralight. All this gear here will put me firmly right in the middle of the lightweight category. So even though I'm lightweight and not ultralight, there are still several ultralight principles that I'm going to be leveraging in order to get my gear weight down. The first is, if you have gear, see if there's a lighter piece of gear that does the same thing. Second is pack multi-use items. For example, my trekking poles, they are also used as the poles for my tent. A third principle is don't pack your fears. So don't pack anything you're afraid of, just pack what you know you'll need to survive, not for every possible scenario. The benefits of going lighter weight are obviously it's easier on your body. There's less on your back. You're not going to be as sore at the end of the day. But also it allows you to move faster. If you move faster, that lets you get between point to point faster, and most importantly, between the various towns faster, so you can carry less food on your back between these towns as well. With the principles out of the way, let's talk about the actual gear that I'm bringing on the trip. And of course, we won't start anywhere else other than the backpack. This is the Osprey Exos Pro 55. This is a frame-in backpack, meaning it has a lot of support for my back. There's literally a frame inside the backpack helping me carry it. The Osprey also is known for its well-ventilated back, which again just helps keep me comfortable during the day when I'm hiking. The first thing you put in your backpack is some way to keep all your gear dry, or a pack liner. The most lightweight way to do this is use simply a large trash compactor bag. You stuff this on the inside of your bag, and then you pack all of your gear inside this. Whatever goes inside here is the stuff that I want to keep dry at all times. So now let's start putting gear in the pack. What we generally want to do is put our lightest weight stuff at the bottom, including the stuff that will compress the most to save us the most amount of space. At the same time, we also want to put stuff in the bottom of the bag that we're not going to use very frequently during the day. So namely, the stuff we're only going to use at camp. So what we're going to start with is our sleeping bag. I have our sleeping bag right here. This is the Zenbivy light bed. This is rated for 20 degrees Fahrenheit, so it should keep me safe if the temperature goes at least that low. And it is a quilt. It does not zip up all the way like a traditional mummy sleeping bag. So I do save a little bit of weight there. There's also a little bit of flexibility in the temperature there as well. So we are going to stick this in the bottom of the pack. Don't need it till I get to camp, and it will compress really nicely. So what makes Zenbivy quilts a little bit unique to many of the other brands is that they actually are a two-part quilt. The other part is here. This is a fitted sheet. You can see it fits. There's fittings on the back here. This will go around my sleeping pad, keeping it firmly in place. And then this will just allow me to sleep on a nice comfortable sheet, mimicking a bed a little more closely than sleeping on the material of the sleeping pad directly. So again, not going to use this till camp, put it in the bottom of the bag. The next piece of camp specific gear that I'm not going to be using during the day is my sleeping pad. This is the Nemo Tensor Extra Long, Extra Wide. I am above 6 feet tall, so I did need a little bit of a larger one. This is an inflatable air pad with an R value of 5.4. R value basically tells you how much insulation you get, protecting you from, in this case, the coldness on the ground. So this is rated to go down to colder temperatures like the ones I'm anticipating experiencing this fall. So I will pack this in the bottom of the bag as well. Finally, in the bottom of the bag, I'm going to pack some of my camp clothes. Clothes I have specifically for camp that I know I'm not going to use during the day. So the most compressible piece would be my puffy jacket. This is a synthetic puffy jacket from Enlightened Equipment. Synthetic puffy jackets are a little bit heavier and not quite as warm as natural down, but they do work in wet conditions while natural down does not. So to be safe, I took the hit in some of those other areas so that if I'm wet at night, I am going to be able to stay warm. So again, highly compressible. Stick this here in the bottom. As for my other camp clothes I'm not going to be using during the day, I do have a sleep shirt. This is a sun hoodie from Outdoor Vitals. Again, just long sleeves hood, gives me a little bit of a fresh shirt to wear at the end of the day, so I don't have to wear my old sweaty one. Also have a spare pair of socks, a spare pair of my Injiji liners, and a spare pair of underwear. Also, we have my camp pillow. This is a Nemo Pillow Elite luxury pillow. Inflatable, but it does have a layer of foam in there, so a little bit of extra comfort. You'll see in my sleeping system in general, I am taking not necessarily the absolute lightest cases, but prioritizing the comfort. If I can get a good night's sleep, that can make up for a lot out on the trail. With that, the bottom of our bag is packed, and now we're in the mid layer. The mid layer is where we want to put some of our bulkier and heavier items because we have the most strength at this point. So what I'm going to pack in first is my tent. For this trip, I'm using the Durston X-Mid Pro 2. This is a fantastic tent. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, it does not have its own tent poles, but I use my trekking poles as the poles. This is a very, very lightweight tent. The entire tent is a little bit over 1 pound, so extremely, extremely light. And it is a 2-person variant, meaning that there should be a ton of space for me as 1 person. So we'll stick that right here. And what we're gonna do is actually stick it towards the back of the bag, away from my actual back, because we want to put the heavier stuff a little bit closer. And of course, this also comes with its tent poles. They will be going in at this point as well. Next, we'll add the 2 heaviest items to the bag, again in this middle layer, but they'll be closer to my back in the backpack to let me carry them with a little bit more support. So the number 1 heaviest item is going to be my food bag. This is a dry compression sack that I'm using as my food bag from Sea to Summit. At the moment, I obviously don't have all the food, and I'll go into a full video on my entire food and water strategy, but my food will be in here in this waterproof bag. In it, I have my container that I'm going to be using for cooking. Again, I'll go into more details in the other video. I have my spoon for eating, and then also you'll want to put in this food bag any other smelling items that you have. So some of your toiletries, etc. So also in this bag, what I will put is earplugs for camp at night to help me sleep. My travel toothbrush and my toothpaste will go in here as well, plus a cork ball that I will be able to use to massage out my muscles after a long day's hike. The rest of the food would also go in here as well. You squeeze out the air, roll it up, and stick it close to your back. The next heaviest piece of gear that I want to put in next to that in the bag is my electronics bag. So I have here this secondary green dry bag. Inside of that, I have my 2 power banks. These are Nightcore 10,000 amp power banks. They should help me keep charge on my 3 to 5 days between town. I have, once I get to camp, once I get to town rather, I do have a wall outlet and then 2 USB-C to USB-C cords to let me charge up to 2 devices at the same time. Then I have my Nightcore headlamp. This is a fantastic headlamp with a couple different settings. Most notably, it has a red light setting so I don't blind myself or others if I get up in the middle of the night. And then one of my luxury items, this is the FlexTail Zero Pump. This little pump weighs a little bit over an ounce. It's 1.2 ounces, and I'll use it to inflate my sleeping bag every night. I also have in there extra batteries for my drone. I'll talk about the drone a little bit later. And then I also have some adapters for my pump and for my cords. Some of my devices use specialty charging cords, so rather than bringing an entire extra cord, I just have a little adapter I can stick on the end of my USB-C cords to charge them. So once all of this is in here, this will all get wrapped up and also stuck in the bag. Along with my food bag, I have my bear cord and a bag for basically rocks. This is my gear for bear hangs every night to ensure that my food bag is not gotten into by bears or other wild animals. All right, with that, the middle of the bag is packed, and now we just have a couple things at the top. Again, a couple more lightweight things, but also items that I may want to access during the day. So my first 2 are going to be my fleece pants and my fleece hoodie. These are both made of a material called Alpha Fleece. These are incredibly light, but also extremely warm. So while I'm moving, I don't anticipate needing them all too often, but it will be nice to have at the top of the pack. And again, these both will keep me warm even if I'm wet. With that, everything that is inside the pack liner, I put in the bag. So I will basically tie up the trash bag, not in too hard a knot so I can't undo it, and then basically roll it down a little bit for some added protection. The one last thing I'll put inside the bag itself as an extra layer of water protection is my rain jacket. I am using the Z-Packs Virtus rain jacket, an extremely lightweight rain jacket, designed not only to keep me dry during a rainstorm, but let my sweat out so I don't overheat. And now let's talk about what is going on the outside of my bag. So the most noticeable pocket is this pocket right here in the back. Again, these are going to be things that I want to be able to access quickly, but not necessarily things that I want to access without stopping. I can't necessarily reach around the back. So the items I'm going to put in here are first and foremost my water filtration system. Again, I'll talk about this in that food and water video that will be coming up. I am also going to throw in my camp shoes. These are a pair of lightweight shoes from Mayfly. Basically on some of my trips, what I've discovered is once I am at camp for the night and I am barefoot and washing things out, I have multiple times now dropped items in the creek and had to chase down the creek barefoot to grab them. No more. I'm at least wearing these shoes to give me some semblance of protection around camp when I'm airing my feet out at night, in case I drop some, also just for general comfort. And then finally, the last thing I'll put in this outside pocket is my hat and gloves. Just some standard hat and gloves. You'll notice the hat is orange, as well as my rain jacket and one other shirt I'm about to show you. It is hunting season, or it will be right around the beginning of hunting season, so just anything orange I can wear so hunters can potentially see me, the better. All right, now I have my waist pockets. So I have two waist pockets. On the left-hand side, I am going to stick my drone. This is the Hover X1 Air. This drone itself weighs only a few ounces. With the battery, it's still less than half a pound. It is driven by AI, meaning it is pre-programmed some routes in there. I don't have to manually control it with the remote. So this really allows me to take some cool shots, otherwise I would not be able to. That goes right here in my left-hand pocket. In my right-hand pocket goes my other camera, which is my Insta360 X4. Not going to pack that because I'm currently using it to film, but that would go right into my other pocket. The tripod that goes with this camera, again, currently using it. It is a tripod and a selfie stick at the same time. They will go in one of my side pockets, which is also where my two water bottles go. There's a lot of great gear inside my bag, but there's a couple of things I want to make sure I have quick access to at all times, and I've kind of used out all the easy to access pockets. So there are such thing as shoulder pockets, a separate piece of gear from Chicken Tramper Ultralight gear. I'm going to attach one of these to each of my shoulder pads and put some critical need to get to quickly type gear in each of those. All right, so in my left one, the most important thing I'm going to put in right away is my Garmin InReach Mini 2. This is a satellite phone that I can use as long as I have access to the sky, or therefore satellites. This is going to be my emergency SOS device, so this will go right here in my pocket. This will be joined by my, it will be joined by my first aid and repair gear. So just repair gear from some of my gear, first aid gear in case I come across an injury, as well as my multi-tool, which contains, most importantly to me at least, a knife and nail clippers so that I can make sure I am being taken care of feet-wise on the trail. I also have my hefty roll of Luccal tape. I will be cutting this down for the trail to not carry all of this, but what I do have will go right here in this pocket. So in my other pocket, I'm going to carry my personal stuff, personal care stuff. So I have my bidet, which I'll be using to clean myself up after I go to the bathroom, and a towel for cleaning myself up with as well. They will go right here. I don't need to bring the traditional trowel to bury my waist because there are so many latrines at all the campsites along the route. I can just use those. I will also be storing my mosquito net here in case I need it. And this is also the pocket I would store my sunscreen and my bug spray in as well. So finally we have, what am I going to be wearing on the trail? Let's set the bag aside. So First off, before I lose it in the grass, I do have my Shocks bone conduction headphones. They are fantastic for anyone who wants to listen to something while also maintaining safety. There is actually nothing that goes in your ear, but it simply goes over your inner ear bones. So it will vibrate that. You can still hear the sound, but you also have perfect hearing of everything going on around you. The next most important gear are my shoes. I'm going to be using the Ultralight shoes. These are fantastically lightweight. They dry out very quickly when they get wet, and they have a very wide toe box. All of these things I'm hoping will prevent blisters in conjunction with my socks and my toe liners, which I mentioned earlier. I will be using Darn Tough socks. They're a really light merino wool. And I will also be using Injiji toe liners. They're basically finger toe socks that go around and protect each of your individual toes. Again, prevent them from rubbing against each other for blister management on your feet. And then finally we have the gear I'm wearing on the rest of my body. Around the shoes I actually have foot gaiters. This will be wrapped basically around my ankle over my shoe. This will prevent debris and hopefully water and other things on getting inside my shoe. Again, one less thing to cause abrasion. Again, a little bit of blister protection. For pants, I'm going with these Outdoor Vitals joggers. These are really, really lightweight, but still keep me pretty warm. So that will just give me, again, warmth and sun protection, a little bit less sunscreen I have to worry about. I am wearing this fantastic sun hoodie from Jolly Gear. It is, again, very light. It also gives me protection from the sun and the warmth. It also is buttoned down in the front so I can get ventilation if it's warm. It checks a lot of boxes for me here. I do have my buff, which I can use as a headband, use as a towel, use as a pot holder, not that I'm bringing a pot, but it just has multiple uses. Again, I'm intending to primarily use this as a headband, but it is a very versatile piece of gear. And then finally, we have my trekking poles. These are a pair of Black Diamond FLZ poles. They fold up in this Z pattern here, which folds up a little bit larger than the telescoping, but it does give you a little bit more support. So I'll be using these, again, daily hiking, but then also at night to use as my tent poles. So with that, that is all of the gear that I am going to be bringing with me on the trail and what I'm going to be wearing. Stay tuned for my next video, which will be covering my food and my water strategy as I'm out there. The second most asked question I get when I tell people I'm doing this. Also, please check the description below. I will have a link to my lighter pack page, which has all the details on all of these products. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from it. Please throw down a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again in some of my future videos.